And Tank hit that nigga, he hit him so hard that he was on the top of the rope just like this.
I mean, keep the speed. Gervonta Tank Davis, if he put on the right weight, put the right weight on, and, you know, have the lean muscle right, he can look fantastic somewhere in the mid-150s, dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul.
In shocking unseen footage, Gervonta Tank Davis reportedly drops a heavyweight sparring partner while preparing for his upcoming clash with Jake Paul. The clip captures Tank's trademark power and flawless timing as he lands a brutal right left hand that ends the session instantly. Fans are calling it undeniable proof that Davis's speed and precision remain unmatched even against men much bigger than him. Showbiz. The adult predicts that Gervonta Davis will enter the Jake Paul fight around 154 pounds, dismissing claims that Tank will be undersized. According to him, Davis has walked around at that weight before, so it is not unfamiliar territory. Even points out that Tank has trained as heavy as 160 pounds, making the jump far less drastic than critics assume. Showbiz emphasizes that Davis has spent years sparring with larger fighters, sharpening his reflexes, timing, and counterpunching against heavy hitters combined with his explosive power and fight IQ. Showbiz boldly declares that Jake Paul's size advantage won't save him once Tank lands clean, predicting a knockout victory with confidence.
50s, dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul. And dare I say it, I think that's the right thing for him to do. Why? I've been saying this. Number one, fighters need to start fighting closer to their walk-around weight. They're just healthier that way. They're just better and healthier that way. I mean, I know it's probably surprising them too. Like, that was the best I've seen Terrence Bud Crawford. Lamont Roach, he's fighting Pitbull at 140, coming from 130 and a pit stop at 135. You have Shakur Stevenson talking about fighting Teofimo Lopez. They're very close to making that fight at 140. And I think all of them would look their best there. Especially Roach, where he ain't knocking nobody out down there at 130. But I bet you he'll be swatting far more at 140. Gervonta Tank Davis, I think, just like the others, fighting closer to your walk-around weight is just going to be one of the better performances for Gervonta Tank Davis. He's going to learn a lot about his body. He's going to learn a lot about himself and where he should campaign moving forward. Maybe even meeting Roach in that rematch at 140 himself. Also, another reason why I think it behooves him to come in knocking at 160 pounds is because of Jake Paul. It's not like Tank is going to dodge every punch Jake Paul throws, all right? Some of those are going to land, and more than likely it's going to land on his guard. Tank is going to have this guard up. We need for him to be solid enough, his foundation and his base solid enough, so when Jake Paul hits him with those shots, he doesn't go flying around the ring.
Reports suggest that Tank has been sparring with much bigger opponents in preparation for Jake Paul. But that is nothing new. Since the beginning of his career, Davis has tested himself against heavier fighters to refine his timing and accuracy. With his devastating power and elite ring, IQ handling larger opponents has never been a problem for him. In the latest training footage, Gervonta Davis looks sharper, leaner, and more focused than ever. Every punch he throws carries a perfect blend of power and precision, the product of years of discipline. His footwork is light, but purposeful. His movements, controlled and commanding, observers note the intensity in his eyes, the rhythm in his strikes, and the balance between speed and strength. Experts across the boxing world agree Tank's conditioning looks better than it has in years. His camp performances have reignited talk about just how dangerous he remains at the elite level. One of the biggest topics leading into this fight is the weight difference. Many believe Jake Paul's natural size gives him an edge, while others argue that Tank's superior skill will erase any physical disadvantage. Those familiar with Davis's career know he has often faced and sparred against heavier men. Supporters remind everyone, boxing is not about weight, it is about timing, discipline, and intelligence. Tank's defense and counter-punching make him a nightmare for anyone regardless of size. His team remains confident that his experience under pressure will allow him to use Jake's size against him. For Davis, this fight is not about proving strength, it is about proving skill.
It is happening. WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Davis, who's unbeaten in 31 professional contests, takes on the self-proclaimed problem child, Jake Paul, one of the most influential and marketable global personalities. Paul and Davis square off in Miami after doubts around the fight being sanctioned in Georgia triggered a change in venue. Neither fighter can weigh more than 195 pounds. The weight is perhaps the most surprising factor. Paul has boxed most of his career around 200 pounds, the cruiserweight limit, but did tip the scales at 227 pounds when he faced off against Iron Mike Tyson last year. Davis, much smaller in stature, competes at the 135 pound mark and has also won world honours at super featherweight.
And despite some discussions about possibly dropping down to 10 ounces, the pair seem set to wear 12-ounce gloves.
And in terms of distance, despite the exhibition tag, the fight will play out over 10 3-minute rounds with 3 scoring judges at ringside, but the result will not be officially recorded on their professional record.
Lamont Roach recently expressed frustration toward Gervonta Davis, hinting at unresolved issues between them. His comments sparked debate with analysts, suggesting that his remarks carry more envy than genuine conflict. Once mutual respect existed, but now Roach's tone feels personal. Many believe he struggles to accept how Davis continues to dominate headlines and secure massive paydays while others fade into the background. As money and fame shape modern boxing rivalries, emotions often run high, but Davis remains unfazed. He lets his silence and work ethic speak louder than words.
Rip, the question is direct. Reportedly, Tank's gonna make $40 million around there to fight Jake Paul. Would you do the same thing if you were in this situation? And he's like, actually, this is what I explained before. You're beating around the bush. It's really a yes or no. I would do it. I would take the 40 mil, or I wouldn't take the 40 mil. But let's listen to this long, drawn-out explanation.
There's about $40 million that he's going to get paid. If you were in his shoes, wouldn't you do the same thing?
See, now, this is something that I explain and express, and I hope everybody gets. That opportunity is an opportunity that you probably cannot pass up. But it's about how you handle it. It's about how you go about it. A lot of people don't know that he actually exercised his rights to the rematch, so that contractually binds us to a fight. You cannot breach that unless you do what you have to do to handle the business, to be like, okay, well, we mutually agree to let you move on or swindle around and fight Jake Paul for this money. If you think I'm going to sit back by the wayside and sit there and be like, well, even though I'm contracted to fight this guy for this amount of money on this certain day, I'm just going to sit here and be cool with, oh, he might not ever fight me, and he's going to go fight and get paid and get this money, and I'm not supposed to get anything.
Boxing experts often argue that Gervonta Davis does not receive the credit he truly deserves. They note that many of his opponents gain more recognition after sharing the ring with him, a testament to his influence in the sport fighters once overlooked. Become household names simply because they fought. Tank. That pattern highlights Davis's star power and ability to elevate anyone he faces. Critics who question his competition are reminded that his presence alone can make or break a career. Analysts agree Davis is not just a knockout artist, he is a cornerstone of boxing's spotlight.
Going discussion in the boxing world about Gervonta Davis and Gervonta Davis, his resume, who he's gonna fight, the competitors that he's gonna fight. And every once in a while, something happens that proves that Gervonta Davis is the face of that. If he's not the face of boxing because people just don't want him to be that, man, he is real close to it, because other than Canelo Alvarez, and even consider Canelo Alvarez included, nobody in boxing has divisions circulating around him like Gervonta Davis does. And that was proved during this Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz announcement for their pay-per-view. Just think about this. Gervonta Davis, they always say that Gervonta Davis has a poor resume, but yet Gervonta Davis, guys that fight Gervonta Davis, lose to Gervonta Davis, or get a draw to Gervonta Davis, can fight one another and make an anticipated pay-per-view between the two of them. Because that fight with Pitbull Cruz is a very, very popular fighter with Mexican fight fans. Lamont Roach got a lot of name exposure with black fight fans and Mexican fight fans and white fight fans, all with his draw that he got against Gervonta Davis. Now they believe that this is going to be able to be a profitable endeavor for a pay-per-view. Now, let me also tell you that Rolly Romero, who was somebody else that Gervonta Davis fought in the past, will be on a pay-per-view that's going to be successful, most likely, when he defends his WBC.
Stephen Fulton recently stepped up to defend Davis from those claiming he is fighting only for money. Fulton reminded fans that every boxer has the right to secure their future after years of risking their body in the ring. He emphasized that Tank has already achieved greatness, winning world titles and delivering unforgettable performances. Now, choosing high-profile fights is both logical and deserved. According to Fulton, fighters must balance legacy and financial stability, because one punch can end a career. His defense of Davis reinforced that Tank's choices come from wisdom, not greed.
Anybody in a position to take that fight, especially the payout, it's like, that's a no-brainer. But I understand. I still feel for Lamont. That's my boy. Like, he still want his rematch. But then when you be realistic about the money situation, you're changing your whole family life. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's people hate on it because they're not in that position. I'm not saying Lamont. I'm speaking like other boxers. Like, oh, he this for that. He's this. It's a side quest. It's a little side quest. Because what happened when Floyd and all these guys went on WWE, but then they get right back to what they're doing? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's not a little side quest. I'm all for people just getting their money. So get the best, make the most that you can out of this entertainment world. Because, I mean, I don't know. I would have done it as far as the money aspect, because none of us would deny that money. They talking like they would, none of us would deny that.
Analyst Luke Thomas offered a different perspective. While he praised Davis's power and technical brilliance, he noticed something different this time. Tank appeared unusually calm during interviews and public appearances, almost detached. Thomas suggested that Davis might view this fight more as a business move than a personal challenge. Perhaps he theorized the hype surrounding Jake Paul rather than the competition itself caught Tank's interest. Still, Thomas admitted that even a less motivated Davis is a dangerous one. His natural talent and experience put him on another level entirely.
So in that sense, it's a little bit different. It's not different in the sense of a boxer in his prime or relative prime straying off the path, but this one is not. It's not like someone else, in a similar weight. It's like completely the opposite. And so that makes it, I think, look and feel weird. And then on top of it, obviously, Gervonta's got other business to handle. He looked to me, Gervonta, absolutely, completely disinterested. Even at the beginning of this year, and even at the pre-fight Lamont Roach stuff, Tank was talking about how much time he has left in boxing, which isn't much. you know, I mean, the Lamont Roach fight, I mean, it blew up in his face, but Lamont Roach was cherry picked. You know, I think Tank thought, oh, I'll just fight another guy from, you know, the Mid-Atlantic area who's, you know, remember Roach came up from 30 to 35 to fight him, and Tank thought he was just going to cruise, and then it blew up in his face, and, you know, you're left with that. So, like, you're making a point about, like, oh, he's got this obligation. That's true, but he was already fucking around. He was already taking opponents that, again, I think Roach showed everyone that was a mistake, but put yourself in Tank's mind. Tank was taking a fight against someone he was clearly, in his mind anyway, better than, and was just going to cruise. So he was already in that state. Then you marry that with statements like, you know, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I'm worried about going to therapy because it'll take away my competitive edge.
To some, this matchup is a money-making spectacle, but for Gervonta Davis, it is personal. He is not stepping into the ring for attention. He is stepping in to remind the world that real fighters can dominate any stage, whether in the arena or under the social media spotlight. A win here would not just boost his legacy, it would prove that skill and discipline still outweigh online fame. Davis knows that both boxing purists and Jake Paul's fan base will be watching. For him, this is a statement. Fight one that could restore focus to authentic competition and send a message that real talent always rises above manufactured startups.
In this particular in the press conference, and you can tell, you can just look at him and tell, like, no, this dude he's gonna get this money for sure, because there's so much money out there to be had. But Jake Paul better be not playing around, man. Not get cute, not play any games, don't hit him in the back of the head, don't rabbit punch him, don't do any of that stuff, man, because Mike Tyson, first of all, Mike Tyson, a lot of people think Mike Tyson was pulling punches on Jake Paul, and a lot of people think that Anderson Silva was pulling punches on him too. You're not going to have a little Gervonta out there pulling punches on you, man, if you're out there playing games. So, you know, I don't like the fight at all. However, as far as it being an entertaining situation, I almost guarantee you that fight itself is going to be entertaining. That it's going to be something that you look at and you're going to say, man, everybody's going to watch it. Everybody's going to want to know what happens in it. But at the same time, it's kind of like what people think, you know, when you see a car crash. Like, you're driving down the road and all of a sudden the traffic gets heavy and you're like, man, I'm going to be in traffic for a long time. And then you drive forward a little bit and then you see, oh man, this is some accident on the other side of the road, and everybody just slowing down to watch. That's the type of entertainment that you can expect from this fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. There's going to be a lot of people watching it, but I gotta say, man, you really can't blame the guy on what he's doing. And there's a lot of criticism flying on Gervonta Davis. It's not Gervonta Davis's fault that boxing took this turn.
Charleston White, never one to hold back, had strong words for Jake Paul. He argued that Jake's career is built more on entertainment than on true boxing. In his view, once Jake faces a seasoned champion like Gervonta Davis, the gap between a real fighter and an influencer will become painfully clear. White believes Tank's timing reflexes and years of elite experience will expose Paul's lack of depth. Fame can bring attention, but it cannot replace experience. His blunt take echoes what many hardcore fans already feel: Davis belongs to a level Jake Paul has never reached, and once they meet, that truth will be impossible to ignore.
Davis and Jake Paul fight. And what he said was, look, man, do not pick against Jake Paul, because he didn't believe that any of the fights that Jake Paul have had to date really have been a real thing. And that the boxing world is looking for that great WHITE hype. And Jake Paul is going to be that guy, even though he really can't do it in a real boxing match. So he was basically reflecting and saying that you know the saying where they say, believe half of what you hear, half of what you see, and none of what you hear. He adjusted it to say, don't believe anything you hear and anything you say, anything that you hear and anything that you see. And honestly, man, when it comes to internet boxing, YouTube boxing, and what people say is going on in the media, without a doubt, I think Charleston White is 100% right about that. Don't believe anything you hear. Don't believe anything you see. Wait to see how things play out, and ultimately everything will come out in the wash. Well, going into this fight with Gervonta Davis, I had my concerns about the fight because of he's the same type of reasoning that Charleston White used, except for mine is slightly different. I don't think that either one of these guys are going to try to do too much damage to each other. Number one, because if it's scripted, which more than likely to an extent it will be, Gervonta Davis is not going to put himself in a situation where Jake Paul is going to actually be able to hurt him.
That's for today. Video subscribe for more.